G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another r/Idoworkherelady video. Now if you love me like I love you, then you know what to do. Want you to mosey on over to that old like button and tackle it like bloody Steve Owen and his bloody crocodiles. Maybe even chuck an Aussie flag down in the comments. Now with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good stories. Now our first post is titled, Karen thinks kicking the boss's kid out is a favour. First post. Story has been translated from our language, so the whole conversation might not be word for word. Okay, so, my parents used to own a small cafe in a small shopping mall. I was 13 at the time, I'm 15 now, so it was not that long ago. This event was around a week before we closed down, but I still remembered it. My parents used to come there once a week to check in and brought me along. Since we didn't have much staff, only 1 or 2 people, I used to help out by welcoming, greeting customers, and taking their orders. Well, one lucky day, along comes Karen, all ready to make my day as wonderful as possible. I did the usual drill, open the door, welcome to cafe name. If the cafe is full, I normally tell guests if they have to wait or show them to a table. Karen came at a time when the cafe was almost empty, so she obviously could just sit anywhere. There was just one more customer, a nice middle-aged man in the corner. The cafe had a separate room with an opening to go into, which was for smokers. My parents were in there for privacy reasons, but could see me most of the time. Okay, on to the story. The cast includes CL, Crazy Lady, which is Karen, me, Nice Man, who was the only customer, employee, mum, dad. So, I go to Karen's table 1 minute later to take her order. She was seated on a table right next to the door. I say, "Are you ready to order, ma'am?" And she stares dead into me. What? Ma'am, are you ready to order? Kid, I don't got time for your BS. You played around when I came in, now F off to wherever the hell your parents are, before I call someone to get you out. Now, I'm wearing an employee tag with my name on it, and I'm pretty taken aback by her rude response. Ma'am, I work here. Here. I gestured to my tag. That's obviously a fake. Wait till I tell the owner about you and have you banned. I'm best friends with him. Okay, so my mum's the owner? And Crazy Lady said him, so you get the point. Ma'am, first of all, I do work here. And the owners are right here. If you know them, then you can ask them about me. How dare you talk back to me like that? You know what? And she grabs my arm. I'll do this place a favor and get rid of you for them. She gets up and drags me out of the door. My parents have a view of the door and see me being dragged out. So do the employees, and they rush over to free me. My dad yells out, "Let go of him. Let go of my son." And he gets me out of her grip. What do you think you're doing? How dare you touch me? I'll report all of you to the owner. I'm best friends with him. I am the owner. Liar, prove it. Gives my mum a hard push on the shoulder. Mall security had been observing from a distance and slowly coming closer. We'll see about that. She gestures for the guards to come here. Crazy Lady, completely ignoring the fact that she saw my mum gesture for the guard, says, "Ha! Let's see you get thrown out for harassing a woman." Then turns to the guards. "Please help. They harassed me and pushed and shoved me, and that little brat abused and talked back to me." Guards, they already saw everything, said, "Sure, let's go talk about it." Crazy Lady, white as a ghost, says, "What? You're gonna throw me out? I know the mall's owner." Same old trick. Oh, Karen. Let's go see him then. He would love to know what you did. I went home with my mum and left our dad to deal with it since I was having a breakdown and couldn't stop crying. Dad came home and told us the woman bawled and literally fell in front of the manager, who she was taken to, and apologized to my dad a lot and how she was just under a lot of stress. My father couldn't take it in that this woman had laid a hand on me and talked with the manager. In the end, they finally agreed on banning her from the mall and let her be on her way. The authorities did show up, but by then the issue was resolved and she was sent on her way. It might be something to laugh about today, but boy, I wish I never see that Karen again. Our next post is by user GingerbreadGal4, titled, You Don't Even Know Your Job. I was about 11 years old at the time and on summer break from school. During the summers, I'd work in my dad's office. It's his business, answering phones, making copies, cleaning, etc., to keep me busy while I was not in school and give me a way to earn some money. The business is a construction type business, so it was pretty common for my dad to have to go out of the shop, to a store, to a job site, etc. And we wouldn't know when he would return. Usually there was another admin in the office to handle stuff, but very rarely I was there alone, for a few minutes / an hour or so max. I was never alone on the property, and there was always another adult there that I knew a phone number for and could call if I really needed to. This one day, the other admin was out, and my dad had to run out of the shop to help fix something. He walked out the door and the phone rang, and the following happened. CL, crazy lady, me is me. They say, "Hello, business name. How can I help you?" "I need to speak to my dad's name." "I'm sorry, he just stepped out of the office right now, but I can take a message for you and have him call you when he gets back." "Well, when will he be back?" "Well, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. There was a problem with some equipment and he had to go help." "Well, I need to speak with him." "I'm sorry, but he's not in the building right now. I can have him give you a call if I can take a message for you." "No, I need to talk to my dad's name." I'm almost crying. I was 11 for frick's sake. "Look, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. I don't know when he will be back. Can I please just take— This is ridiculous. You don't know anything. How do you not know a time that he'll be back? You don't even know what your job is. What kind of company is this? How are you so incompetent?" Me, holding back tears at this point and begging this lady to please just let me take a message. My dad, thank God, walked into the office at that moment, and I cut crazy lady off to say, "I'm sorry, he just walked in. Hold on 1 second, please." So I say to him, "Dad, you have a call on line 1. "Well, who is it?" "I don't know. I'm crying now. She won't give me a name or a number, won't let me take a message, and screamed at me, and I don't know why." Dad walks into his office and takes the call. I don't hear the entire exchange, but he put the call on speaker at this point, and I did hear him say something to the effect of, "Yes, that was my daughter. She's working here for the summer. I asked her to have calls leave messages for me because I was not in the building." Crazy lady laughed kind of sheepishly and said, "Oh," I could practically hear her face turning red. She half mumbled an apology / excuse and hung up extremely fast. And that's why I still have some phone anxiety at the ripe old age of 25. I say some because it's gotten worlds better. I've worked on it a lot. Alright, our next post is by ThistleFizz, titled, "The Tone That Security Prevented Me From Doing My Job." So, I used to work as an entertainment lighting electrician and console programmer. One of my busiest times of the year was working New York Fashion Week, both spring and fall. It was a lot of organized chaos, but I enjoyed my time there. The most important place backstage is the hair and makeup stations in the dressing rooms. Rows of tables with mirrors and lights, with power for the hairstylists and makeup artists, for things like blow dryers and curling irons, and courtesy power for the models for phones and such. While we try to make sure that each station has at least 2 dedicated 20-amp circuits, invariably someone will come in and plug their equipment into the same power strip as the workstation next to them, and it will trip a breaker. Now, runaway shows are absolute chaos backstage. Models, hairdressers, makeup artists, production assistants, press, designers, it gets pretty crowded backstage. Security is understandably tight during this whole process, but guards don't actually come in until the day of the show. Because we're already in the space long before the show actually starts, I always try to introduce myself to security guards so they know who I am. Usually wearing a radio and a tool belt is enough for most people to clue into who we are, and if that fails, the all-access pass or wristband seals in. But I like to take the extra step and be prepared. So, one fine show day, I get a frantic call on the radio from the lead production assistant, the LPA, who says, "ThistleFizz, there's no power at the hair and makeup stations." Now, if it's actually just one station that's out, or all of them, it doesn't really make a difference. Even having one station out can be an emergency. So I start making my way over. On my way, I encounter LPA, who looks very relieved to see me and motions for me to follow. Backstage is packed to the gills, so she makes it to the dressing room entrance a little bit before I do. As I'm about to go in, I get stopped by security. Unfortunately, it's not the same guy that was at the dressing rooms before the show when I was introducing myself, so this guy doesn't know me. Security says, "Models only backstage." It's okay, I'm on the tech team, and I show him my white wristband. Nice try, gold wristbands only backstage. He grabs my arm and starts pulling me away from the dressing room entrance. "You need to go." Just then, I get another call on my radio. "Thistleviz, where are you?" I key my mic and respond, "I'm being escorted out by security at the moment." Something has now finally clicked in Meatlug's head. Unfortunately for him, he was too slow to respond. LPA comes storming out of the dressing room. "Security, what the frick are you doing? He works here. He's my electrician. Let him go." "But he doesn't have a gold wristband." "Gold is for the dressing room only. White is for all access. Now let go of him." He let go of me, apologized, and I went about my business. I don't disparage the man for trying to do his job, but he probably should have been paying a bit more attention when his boss was going over wristband colors for the day. Alright, and our next post is by Montana13, titled, "Yes, I'm sure I'm me. No, I'm not dead." Not really an I do work here, more of an I'm supposed to be here. Now, when I was younger, I was very reclusive and rarely socialized with my classmates, or anyone for that matter. So while parents saw everyone else from the village I live in growing up, after we left primary school, elementary, I don't know, I was never really seen by anyone. Fast forward to our prom when we left secondary school, high school, aged 16, and one of the other mothers from our village decided it would be nice to get a class photo of everyone who went to our primary school. We all gathered together and were waiting for her to take the photo when she approached me and we had the following interaction. She says, "Excuse me, but this is a photo for our village school's pupils only." I'm confused and I'm like, "Yes, I know. That's why I'm here." "I don't think you understand. This is only for school's pupils." It was at this point I realized that she didn't recognize me, so I tried to explain the situation to her. "Sorry, Mrs. Smith, I'm Montana. I went to village school with your son, John." "I don't appreciate being lied to. It's only a photo, so just screw off, so I can take it." "I don't understand why you think I'd be lying. I have known John for the last 10 years. I even played rugby and football with him for 6 of those years." "I know you're lying because Montana is dead. She died not long after they started secondary school." At this point, I was about to give up, but her son finally decided to set her straight. "Mum, this is Montana. Stop making a fool of yourself and just take the photo." "No, I know she died. Stop trying to make excuses for her to be in the photo." "Fine, this is her ghost. Just take the bloody photo." Not as dramatic as some of the other posts here, but it always makes me laugh when I think about it. Especially because it has always been a joke in my family that I look like the undead. So I guess she thought so too. Alright, our next 2 posts are by user Just a Cute Angle, titled, "Lady claims I'm a safety hazard at my own job." So obviously the expected I'm on mobile and bad at grammar and formatting lines, blah blah. Also, this is my very first post. For context, I'm 18 and female, and just started at a big chain auto parts store, even though I know little to nothing about vehicles and how to fix them. Family member got me in, but I'm getting by fairly well and haven't had a complaint about my advice yet, so fingers crossed. Even though I'm 18, I'm very short, 5 foot even, and have big baby face, so I often get mistaked for being 12 despite having pastel pink hair and a nose piercing. Our car star, entitled Tramp, co-worker I was closing with that night, and me. Story. Sorry if it's a long one, TLDR at the bottom. So this happened last week when I was stocking and facing shelves about half an hour before closing, as it's mandatory to have the store fully stocked and neat before leaving for the night. Our stores equip each location with a very tall rolling ladders, clearly marked with employees only, to help safely stock heavy parts on higher shelves. It was late, so there was barely anyone in the store, so I was stocking the top shelves where we keep our car wash supplies when I noticed this lady dressed in high-end business clothes. Something you don't see here very often. She keeps staring at me. I finally ask her if there's anything I can help her find, and the following conversation ensues. "Young lady, you know those ladders are for employees only, right?" I was a bit confused because I was literally stocking shelves and had the employee uniform on with the name stitched on it. Company policy. Yes ma'am, I work here. I just started a few weeks ago." I point to the logo on my work shirt. She looks me up and down and says, "Aren't you a little young to be working here? I thought they didn't hire until 18. "I am 18. My birthday was in January and I just started here." "BS. You get down from there right now before I get you kicked out for lying and playing on store equipment." Startled, I tell her, "No, I work here. I'm doing my job," and attempted to go back to stocking the shelves when she grabs my ankle and tries to pull me off a 6-foot ladder. Keep in mind that these ladders are as old as the store and aren't the most sturdy. So I grip the handles and pray it doesn't fall over while I yell at her to leave me alone. "No, you shouldn't be up here. You could get hurt." Ironic, I know. At this point, my coworker hears the commotion and comes out back to see what's going on. She walks around the corner to see me shaking my leg, trying to get out of her death grip before the ladder falls over, and trying to not cry or pee myself as I'm terribly afraid of heights. "Ma'am, what are you doing? Stop, she could fall." "She shouldn't even be up there. She doesn't work here." While she was distracted, I quickly shake my uncle out of her death grip and speed down the ladder and over to my coworker. "I demand she be banned from this store for being disruptive and a safety hazard." "Ma'am, she works here. We just hired her 2 weeks ago." "Then prove it. Show me her schedule and her ID, now." First of all, I'm not showing you my schedule, so you can come here and harass me. Secondly, I'm not showing you my ID. I don't have anything to prove to you. Please leave the store before I call the police. "Oh, I'll gladly call the police." And she pulls out her phone and dials 911. At this point, I'm so shaken up and tired and just want to go home. So coworker sends me to the back to try to finish up my duties before we close. About 10 minutes later, the police show up and entitled brat starts screaming about how I was being a safety hazard and kicked her in the face. The police look at me and again assume that I'm only 12 until my coworker explains to them what actually happened. The police request security footage, which we happily showed them. Of course, it was the entitled bear physically harassing me, and she started yelling that she was only looking out for my safety and did nothing wrong. Obviously, the cops did not buy it, and told her that if she was truly concerned for my safety, she should have taken it up with the manager on duty instead of physically harassing an employee. They escorted her out where she continued screaming. I told them I did not want to press charges, since she probably didn't live near here anyways. It's a fairly small town and everyone knows everyone type of deal, and I had never seen her before. It's been about a week since the incident, and I haven't seen her since, thankfully. But I think it's safe to say I may not last as long in this business, lol. Edit, I'm still working during the whole COVID-19, cause our store was declared an essential business, and I've got a few more stories like this, if y'all want more. And what would you know, our next one is by that OP, titled, "You guys got what you wanted and she got what she deserved." Important. Many details allude to my last post on here about the same entitled tramp, so go read that one first for clarification. So, last night I posted my first Reddit story to this sub, cause I was bored and all, and it got an unsuspected amount of support. Thank you so much. Along with that, I kept getting notifications at work about comments saying I should have pressed charges. I want to preface this by saying I didn't at the time cause of excuses I made in the comments of the last post, but started regretting my decision. However, by the fate of the universe, or whatever god you believe in, or don't believe in I guess, who shows up at my work again today? Story. It's about noon and our store is usually dead empty around that time, and my co-workers one by one start taking their lunch breaks. I'm on the computer fulfilling online orders, checking them off on the computer, then going and collecting the parts from our inventory, when I hear our doorbell ring as a customer walks in. I look up and it's none other than the entitled brat from my story. She walks up to the counter before I can duck away to the back, and starts listing off things she needs at the speed of sound before she realizes who I am. When she finally takes a breath and a good look at me, the following ensues. "Wait a minute, what are you doing back here?" "I still work here, ma'am." I said it a bit more sarcastically than I meant, and turned back to my computer to finish the orders coming in. "There's no way, you're too young, and if you did work here, you would be fired for speaking to a customer so rudely." At this point I was done with her yelling at me, so I decided to ignore her and start collecting the parts for my orders. But as I was walking away, I felt something hit me in the back of the head. She ripped the computer mouse out of the computer and chucked it at me. Not to mention she broke the wire in the mouse when it hit the ground. At this point I'm furious. I had dealt with enough rude customers today, and she was the last straw. And then she dropped the infamous Karen line. "If you really work here, go get me your manager." I was seeing red at this point, but I could not afford to lose my job. So I just went to the back, told the manager who the customer was. He had seen the security footage from before and agreed that if she tried anything again, she would be banned, and to call the police. After calling the police, we both walked to the front where she starts yelling at my manager that he shouldn't let kids roam freely around the store without supervision. It's a safety hazard, and she should call the police on him. Now, my manager has always been super chill, but there's nothing he hates more than a stuck-up, entitled customer. When she finally stops screaming, he informs her that the police have already been called, and she will be banned from this store. She looks dumbfounded. All the color drained from her face, and she bolted out the door as quickly as possible. When the police arrived, we showed them the security footage again, and I guess because of last time, they already had her name and stuff on file, and could easily identify her. I'm not good with law stuff, but have an aunt who is planning on enlisting her help because... They asked me again if I wanted to press charges, and this time I said yes. So I guess this story does have a happy ending after all. Our next post is by Bay Gull Guy, titled, "Just because I'm young doesn't mean I can't be the boss." Worked at a very popular nightclub. Multi-level, younger crowd downstairs, big spenders upstairs. We're talking $70,000 a night on our biggest nights, and averaging around $30K on normal nights. We used to get tons of applications as staff made great tips. I started at the bar as a bouncer for a summer job when I was 19 and ended up liking it and being good at it. Anyway, fast forward a couple years and I'm 22, and have been made general manager of the bar with a staff of about 50. We opened during the week for deck drinkers, and I would usually be dressed to impress on some of the days as I wasn't in the office all the time, or I would be doing work around the bar, minor fixes, painting and such. Anyway, I came down and let the staff in so they could get to work, and before we open, a girl knocks on the door. You know the type, looking down her nose at everyone with a holier-than-thou attitude. I open the door for her and ask how I can help her. She takes one look at me in my boots, work jeans and t-shirt, and walks right past me without so much as a how do you do, to tell the bartender she's looking for the manager so she can pass in a resume. I had the distinct pleasure of watching her face go red as I tell her I am the manager and tossing her resume immediately without looking at it. A lot of the customers we have that spend the big money look like nobodies. Next post is by user Ansley Star, titled, "I'm your server and the manager. Checkmate, Karen." I'm not sure if this is inappropriate for this group, as it was clear that I worked there but not in the capacity that the customer thought. But I'll push through. I'm in mobile, so all the obligatory "sorry I'm on mobile," just ignore them. A few years ago, I started serving at a family-owned restaurant in my town. I quickly became close with the owner and the owner's daughter, and helped them with the more than just serving. I became head server and then bar manager. Since it was a smaller restaurant, I kept serving because I made way more money that way. We had a special every day for wine. We had a shelf filled with wine bottles. Each shelf was either 15%, 25% or 50% off. It was a great deal, and typically we sold it for about $5 to $10 more than we were paying per bottle of wine. I don't know if this is well known, but a lot of restaurants upcharge their alcohol quite a bit in order to make a profit. Obviously, lol. so it was a great deal for people. One day, a lady comes in with her friends and immediately starts causing problems. I end up taking over for the server who got them right after they ordered their drinks, because they were so rude to her and it was her first full day of serving by herself. The lady ends up ordering one of the 25% off bottles, which ended up being around $7 more than you could buy it in a liquor store. How do I know this? At the end of her meal, I can hear her talking to her friends about how she's going to get the bottle of wine for free. She knew I was right there and could probably hear her, but I was just the server and probably dumb. Also overheard at an earlier time. I may be dumb, but I'm not stupid. That's okay. At this point, I'm so ready to tell her no, I actually won to buy a few times so she can try her crap. Sure enough, she snaps at me, and I mean literally snaps her fingers, and calls over and said, "I want you to get your bar manager. I looked online and found this bottle of Merlot for XXX, and you charged me XX plus 7. I'm not paying this ridiculous overcharge, and I also want to talk to them about the service here today." Now, not to toot my own horn, I was a good server. There weren't many people in the restaurant at the time, so I know I didn't neglect them. I substituted food for them and didn't charge them any upcharges, even though a double-baked stuffed potato costs more than a side of chips, but whatever. She looked at me with such a smug face, until I smiled back at her and said, "Actually, I am the bar manager." I've never seen such a comical change in expression outside of a sitcom. She said, "You're the bar manager?" And I smiled and nodded and said, "Every restaurant will charge you more for products than they buy them for. This is how we make a profit. I'm not going to be discounting the wine. As far as issues with the service, I would be happy to listen to your complaints and take them into consideration for the future." She spluttered, grumbled, and told me, "Well, I'll never be coming back here." Okay, good riddance, lady. And she didn't come back. Her friends did though, and became some of my favorite regulars. They told me a few months later that the only reason they went out with her was because she was one of their sisters-in-law, and she didn't have any friends. I wonder why. And our last post for today is by KK Wednesday, titled, "I worked there way longer than her." Sorry first post, but this is about the first job I had as a hostess at a breakfast restaurant. A bit of backstory. I had started there when I was 16. I'm 21 now. I had worked there for 3 years in total, but the last 8 months that I had worked there, I had maybe 1 to 2 shifts a week, due to a better full-time bartending job. So, one of my first shifts back after not having one for about a month and a half was a busy Sunday morning. I came in for my shift, and I had seen many new faces as the hosts rotated out pretty quick. I was running the register, taking payments, and I was also in charge of the seating chart, giving customers wait times and ensuring that they were seated when promised. I don't mean to toot my own horn at this, but I knew the restaurant very well, so I was capable of giving very accurate wait times. There were a bunch of tables that had to be bussed, and there were a bunch of other hosts just standing around and either talking or doing less important jobs. So I left the podium to go to request that those tables be cleared, and one of the new girls had the audacity to ask who I thought I was, and had said that I was new? So I proceeded to say, "What? I've been working here for almost 3 years now." And she still proceeded to ask why she should listen, and why I couldn't do it myself. Finally, the manager had came up and asked me what the problem was. I told her, and then she told that new girl that I wasn't lying and to listen to me. And oh my god, words can't explain how quickly she went pale and lost that stupid smug face. Thank you for listening. Alright guys, that's the end of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this one of r/IDoWorkHereLady. These ones are pretty fun. I'm gonna put them all in with the I Don't Work Here Lady series. Just, whenever I make those big videos. Hope you guys enjoyed this one today. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. This has been Markee, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.